Hi, I'm Mark, and the title of my video is Foundations. And the video is about coming to a proper understanding of the COVID-19 narrative. So just to state the obvious, when we're trying to come to a correct understanding of something, could be anything, in order to come to the proper conclusion, we need to have the correct understanding of the foundation or fundamental issues concerning whatever we're talking about. So we have the right foundational understanding, we're going to tend to draw the right conclusions. We have an improper foundational understanding, we're going to tend to draw improper conclusions. And those conclusions can go awry real quick depending on how flawed our understanding of the fundamentals are. We've all seen this. I'm sure everyone's going to agree with what I just said. Nothing earth-shattering, right? But when it comes to the issue at hand, that's the COVID-19 narrative, it's been heartbreaking to me over the past year plus to watch what I believe are the vast majority coming to the improper conclusions. And I even will go so far as to say even those that think they're getting it right have a very watered down understanding or conclusion for the most part based on my observation. Now you may say, well, who are you? How is it that you have the right understanding of the foundation when no one else does? And it's a fair question, and I'm just going to give you the answer that I'm nobody. I'm absolutely nobody. But here's the thing. This foundational understanding does not come from me or my opinions. It comes right from the horse's mouth. The same people who are giving you the narrative that led to your conclusion are the same people who I'm going to be showing you the information from. I believe that this information is totally unassailable. It's not something that you can refute because it comes right from them. I'm hoping to wake some people up with this. I'm hoping this is going to be a we're not in Kansas moment for a lot of people, God willing. The Bible says, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? This is going to be short and it's going to be sweet. If you're not getting it right away, chew on it for a couple of days. Think about it. Okay, so I'm going to start with a couple videos. They're both short. The first one's going to be from Deborah Birx. She was a cabinet member from the White House during the Trump administration. And I'm going to link everything that I'm going to show you so you can go back and look it over, rewatch it, and so forth.
For how they're characterized.
So I think in this country, we've taken a very liberal approach to mortality. And I think the reporting here has been pretty straightforward over the last 5 to 6 weeks. Prior to that, when there wasn't testing in January and February, that's a very different situation and unknown. There are other countries that if you had a pre-existing condition, and let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU and then have a heart or kidney problem. Some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue and not a COVID-19 death. Right now, we're still recording it, and the great thing about having forms that come in and a form that has the ability to mark it as COVID-19 infection, the intent is right now that if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting that as a COVID-19 death. Can you be?
Okay, so you heard her. The last line of that video, if someone dies with a COVID-19 death, we are counting that as with COVID-19 rather, we are counting that as a COVID-19 death. Now, I'm a veteran of the message forum circuit. So I've had the opportunity to get this video in front of probably hundreds of people, if not even thousands. And I've been accused at times of taking Deborah Birx out of context in this video. And I've also heard the argument essentially that what she said she didn't mean. Okay? I don't believe that that's correct at all. The more I watch this, if you look at her body language when she delivers that money line, so to speak, she's emphatic about it. that if someone dies with COVID-19, we are counting the death as a COVID-19 death. See, it's one thing, we've all heard the stories, okay? There was a car accident and someone died, and that person was counted as a COVID-19 death. There was a heart attack and someone died, and so forth. But I can imagine, if you take the average person out there, I can imagine working it through logically that, listen, we don't live in a perfect world. This was a rogue doctor. This was a isolated situation. Mistakes happen, and they do happen. And I can understand how someone could draw that conclusion, that this is something that is not the norm. It's the exception. That's not what Deborah Birx said right there. She said that this is a matter of policy. Now, consider the implications. We have a whole system in place. How many times have I had a conversation with someone and we're discussing lockdowns, curfews, church closures, small business closures, mask mandates, and so forth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that individual will say, but, there's 500,000+ people dead in this country. Not according to what Deborah Birx just said. There goes that narrative. Because she just said that it's a matter of policy, that anyone that dies that tested with positive for COVID-19, no matter how they died, is being counted as a COVID-19 death. Now, I want to ask you just to consider too, because oftentimes when we're analyzing these things, we need to look at what they don't say. If this was out of context, if she didn't mean what she said, how come the White House hasn't held a press conference by now? We understand that it came across the wrong way. She didn't mean it. This is not the way the system works. They never did that. And I believe that the reason they didn't is she meant exactly what she said. I would absolutely suggest you watch that video a few times to see for yourself. And I think you're going to draw the same conclusion that I have. Okay, next video. CDC, by the way, before I go to the next video, the date on that video, I believe, was April of last year. Let's see if I can find it. April 8th, 2020. Okay, next video. CDC estimates COVID-19 fatality rate.
Best estimate from the CDC about how many people are surviving coronavirus here in the U.S. And a caveat off the top here, the CDC says this is not a prediction about the expected effects of COVID-19. Instead, this is their current best estimate, which they say will be updated as time goes on as more is learned. Also, these numbers do not include people 80 and older. So here it is. These are by age group, and these are the estimates of people who are surviving among all people who get coronavirus, including people who do not show symptoms. Here are those numbers shown in a different way. Here's the current best
Okay, so what they're doing right there is they're just extrapolating, or they're changing it into a ratio as opposed to percentage. But I think a lot of us have seen these numbers, okay? And these are the numbers that we're talking about right here. And those numbers look pretty good, right? I'm in this age group right here, 20 to 49 years, 99.98%. And it doesn't seem to me that based on the numbers that are coming from them, that those numbers would justify, curfews, lockdowns, mask mandates, healthy people being quarantined for the first time in history, healthy people, being required to wear masks, business shutdowns. We know the score. Everything that the system, social distancing, everything the system entails. But I'm going to suggest to you that these numbers, based on what Deborah Birx just said, are nowhere close to accurate. They're nowhere close to accurate. Because if they're counting everyone who died with COVID-19 as a COVID-19 death, these numbers are completely irrelevant. It's much better than what they're saying. It could be better by an order of magnitude of I don't even know how much. I don't even want to speculate because I don't know. But these numbers are hogwash. It's actually much better than what these numbers say. And in and of themselves, these numbers look to be pretty severely in the favor of the individual who may get sick with COVID-19. Okay. Next, we're going to take a look at the death rate. I've had the opportunity to argue this on the message forums for several months now. And I've heard many times, well, there's 500,000 more people dead in the U.S. than there was. That proves that this is legitimate. I've also seen tables posted, and it's funny, the tables that they tend to post tend to be week over week or month over month in very short time periods. They're never in context. Okay, where am I going with this? I believe that these numbers I'm about to show you prove definitively that I'm not saying COVID-19 doesn't exist, but I am saying that it is, the narrative is false. Okay. Let's take a look. I just pulled this up the day before yesterday, by the way. Source, United Nations. Okay, and that's important because, let's face it, people like me don't like the United Nations very much. You have the United Nations, the WHO, the CDC. These types of organizations are supposedly all in agreement with one another. In other words, it's coming from them. United States. We're going to take a look at the last 5 years. United States historical death rate. And again, I'm going to link this. These are deaths per 1,000. Let's go back to 2015. And this is the number that we're going to be concerned with. This number right in here. 2015, 8.369. 2016, 8.475, 8.850, 8.86. So you can see that the amount of people that are dying per 1,000 has been rising slowly for years now. Now we know this, between 2015 and 2016, there was no pandemic. Yet we see a difference in the death rate. Same thing between 2016 and 2017. There's a slow rising of the death rate. Same thing between 2017 and 2018, and then 2018 and 2019. Now these are the key numbers right here. 2019 to 2020. 8.88 versus 8.782. What's that, like 82 basis points? Now, considering when we look at these numbers in context, I think it's safe to say that there is no evidence whatsoever based on the death rate that there has been a deadly pandemic in this country. No evidence whatsoever. And even if you look at there's just a slight change between 2020 to 2021. This is right from the United Nations. Okay, I'm going to move on to one of our favorite topics, and that's going to be the face mask protocol for COVID-19. And why is this so important? Well, we're hearing about people getting kicked off flights. We're hearing about people getting arrested, getting tased. The kids have to wear them at school. I drove by where I grew up, and there was a cross-country team that were running outside, and they all had face masks on. This is they've been pretty militant with this particular protocol. And I'm going to suggest to you that I would assume, based on their militancy, that they're going to have all their ducks in a row, that this is a good thing, right? It's coming from the CDC. Their desire, and according to what they say, they're trying to prevent people from getting sick, and they're trying to control disease, according to their name. Okay. Let's take a look at the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes of Health. And I would encourage you to read this whole thing because I'm not going to be able to do it justice in the short time that I'm going to have to just share it with you. Check out the date. Published online, November 22nd, 2020. This is about face masks. Efficacy of face masks. The physical properties of medical and non-medical face masks suggest that face masks are ineffective to block viral particles due to their difference in scales. Several sources, which we're going to get to in a second. Medical journals and so forth. Just scrolling down a little bit. Physiological effects of wearing face masks. Wearing face masks mechanically restricts breathing by increasing the resistance of air movement during both inhalation and exhalation process, and so forth and so on. Goes through some of the different consequences of wearing the face mask, psychological effects of wearing face masks, and then it goes through some of the long-term health consequences of wearing face masks. Prolonged hypersapnic state, whatever that is, and so forth and so on. I'm not going to go through it. It's very clinical. Conclusion. The existing scientific evidences challenge the safety and efficacy of wearing face mask as preventive intervention for COVID-19. So it's specific to COVID-19. This isn't a general thing. The data suggests that both medical and non-medical face masks are ineffective to block human-to-human transmission of viral and infectious disease, so forth and so on and so on. It goes on to go through some of the potential consequences: hypoxia, hypersapnia, shortness of breath, increased acidity and toxicity, and so forth and so on. References. I encourage you to go through some of these references. World Health Organization, just to show you that this particular organization seems to be a part of the globalist organizations like the WHO, we talked about earlier, the UN, the CDC, and so forth and so on. Another World Health Organization. Fauci AS. Is that Anthony Fauci? I haven't checked it out. I would assume so. Center for Disease Control. And so forth and so on. I'm not going to go through each one of them. There's another WHO. But I would definitely encourage you to read this entire thing. So now, let's consider this NIH has put forth a medical paper with medical references, including medical journals, saying that the face masks are a bad thing. We're a year later. How is it that not only has the face mask protocols been kept up, they've been increased? Think about the new ruling where in order to get on any type of federal trains and buses and so forth, you have to wear it. Well, maybe this NIH they're just wrong. They're full of hot air. Maybe it's the CDC that has the truth, and this is just all baloney. Let's take a look. CDC, now check out the date. November 20th, 2020. 2 days prior to the NIH drawing a conclusion, the exact opposite conclusion that we're going to see the CDC drew about the face masks. Now, I'm not going to read any of this to you. It's going to go in and talk about how great face masks are. They help the person who wears it. They also help the other people. They keep everybody safe. They're such a great thing. We need to keep wearing the face masks, okay? But this is very interesting. Let's go into references. Now, remember that we just said the NIH is opposed to face masks? Look at the very first reference that the CDC uses to support their claim that face masks need to be worn as a protocol. The NIH, the same organization that just concluded emphatically that the face mask is a bad thing. And you know what? That's not the only NIH reference that they're going to use in their paper. Let's count them. Here's 1. I just went over that one. Here's 2. Here's 3. Here's 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So out of 45 sources, 32 of them come from the NIH, an organization supposedly that you're in agreement with, that came to the exact opposite conclusion that you did. And you're trying to use this page to justify scientifically that these face masks, as a matter of protocol, are something that we need to do to protect people. I don't need to... I'm going to do this just because there might be someone out there that maybe needs to hear this. That's about as shady of a thing as I've ever seen. That's about as illegitimate of a scientific research paper and references that I've ever seen in my entire life. That's like 70%. Check this out too. See if I can find it. Number 42. Goldman Sachs as your reference. A financial company. You're going to use Goldman Sachs as your scientific source to prove that we need to use face masks for what, the first time ever? Some will say that's not true. I don't know for sure. First time in a long time, that's for sure. That we're going to use face masks as a protocol. Healthy people. And you're going to quote a financial company? Do you think does that sound right to you? Okay. I'm not going to continue. You can check out these resources. And I'm going to check out the other sources themselves. I would call into question every other source, not just the NIH sources, every other one they put on here. I'm gonna check those out, and I would encourage you to do so. I think you have the information now, and I think it's pretty irrefutable. And you need to ask yourself what you're going to do with this. I had a conversation with a close family member, and he's not the first one I've had this same conversation and say this to me. And he said, Mark, I agree with you about these face masks. He said, but I want to wear the face mask in certain locations out of respect for the people who are afraid. My response to him, and this is someone I'm very close to, it's an immediate family member, maybe even watching this video. I said, what about respect for someone like me who is offended at the people wearing the face mask, because this is a false narrative that we're talking about. What about your respect for the truth? You have the information now. What will you do with it? Okay. God bless, and I appreciate your time.